So in today's video, I am going to be interviewing one of my past clients, Bryan, who bought in a neighborhood called the Haven at New Riverside, which is a 55 and better community, a little bit off the beaten path. Now, Bryan has some really interesting hobbies, and I can't wait to share his story with you, why he selected the South Carolina Lowcountry, why he selected the Haven at New Riverside, and you're going to get to learn about some of those interesting hobbies that I mentioned. So if that interests you, don't go anywhere because we're getting after it right now. Do you want to know everything there is to know about the South Carolina Lowcountry, whether it's Bluffton, Beaufort, Hilton Head Island, or Jasper County? Then subscribe below and tap that bell for notifications so you'll be the first to know every time I drop a new video. My name is David Simcox, host of this channel and a local real estate agent. I get calls and emails every day from people just like you looking to make their move here, and I absolutely love it. So whether you're moving in 3 days, 3 months, or even 3 years, give me a call, send me an email, shoot me a text, or you can even book a Zoom call by going to lowcountrylifestylesteam.com. Now, without further adu, we're going to jump right into the interview with Bryan. All right, Bryan, thank you so much for taking the time to come in here, and I really appreciate the fact that you did business with me, and thank you for taking your time to share your story with the person watching this video right now. I think it'll be really helpful to them. So you ended up moving into a neighborhood called the Haven at New Riverside, but we're not going to talk about that just yet. We're going to get to that a little bit later in the video. So prior to moving to the South Carolina Lowcountry, who were you and what were you doing?
Well, I was a mechanical engineer, practiced as a research and design engineer, and did that for quite a few years. Worked on prosthetics, orthotics, had a few hobbies, and my wife was a professional also, and she did dietetic work. She was dietetic manager for quite a few years, and we just decided over time, because we're not 65 yet, that we could financially move on and retire. We finally reached that point of financial freedom. So we scanned the whole eastern U.S. really up and down the coast, because my mother lives in Florida. My wife's mother lives up in Virginia. So going up and down through Google Maps, me being an R&D kind of guy, I love to do research. And I spend hours and hours on Google Maps. And for me, I found this was the best location, because Mom is just a few hours south. My wife's mother is just a few hours north. And getting into Hobbies later is just a great location for my hobbies too. Okay. So you'd been doing your career, and we'll talk about where you moved from here in just a minute. Was there something that triggered, like, it's time for a change? Do you remember a moment like when you decided I'm ready for a switch? I think after so many years of doing similar work, I got burnt out. Okay. And then my mother had health issues too, so getting closer to her, because we were from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Yep. That's about a 9-hour drive to Jacksonville. So now it's just a 3-hour drive due south. It's really convenient. And I guess the point where we did realize where we reached financial freedom was a huge factor too. That was a trigger. We could finally move on and retire.
And why was being closer to your mother so important to you?
She's 93 years old.
Okay.
And she's had health issues, colon cancer, had surgery for colon cancer just a couple of years ago. So to help her out and to be closer to Elizabeth's mom too, to help her out if need be, to see them when we can. So just this last weekend for Mother's Day, Pete and I, my dog Pete and I, drove down to Jacksonville to see Mom. And we got to spend a few days with her and go to her church. And she really enjoyed that, the time one-on-one.
So when you were researching all these locations on the East Coast, was there anything you knew you absolutely didn't want?
I didn't want too far of a distance away from family. I didn't want to be in a place that was too hot or too cold. So I think this latitude is perfect.
Okay.
I think those are the main criteria.
Okay. I remember one thing you told me that you didn't want. We toured a lot of different neighborhoods, and you are in a 55 and better community, but you said, I don't want cookie cutter. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So what's great about the Haven, the 55 plus community that we're in now, is that there are a lot of different homes, and these homes are on, they average about a quarter acre, just under a quarter acre of land each. And the landscaping is really nice, more mature trees, and a little park area to walk the dog, and a garden area. Lots of things offered, and it's not like a cookie cutter condo or apartment complex. Yeah, it's just working out really, really nice.
And also, one of the big things about the Haven is you can have a fenced-in yard, where a lot of the communities in the 55 and better world, they don't allow you to have a fence. And I know that you have a dog, and what was his name?
Pete.
All right, so you wanted Pete to be able to have a fence, so that was important to you.
Yeah.
Has he
He's so
enjoyed the backyard?
spoiled. No. He's so spoiled, he just loves to go out through the front door and go for walks. Because another great thing about the Haven is all the trails they have. They have a nice little nature trail to walk around. And every single block in that huge development has sidewalks.
Yeah.
And lots of other people have their dogs too. So Pete knows the other dogs. We know the other dogs by name more than we know the other people by name at this point. And everybody knows Pete.
You're like, that's Rufus's master, and that's that's Spotty's owner.
We know who gets along with Pete. We know who doesn't get along with Pete.
Yeah.
And but so far, it's worked out really well, because there are lots of other dog lovers that live there too.
That's fantastic. So when we were out looking at neighborhoods and touring all these different places, do you by any chance remember the moment when you were in the Haven and like a light bulb went off and you knew that that was the right neighborhood for you?
Well, there was a few light bulbs. The first light bulb was watching one of your videos, because besides going on to Google Maps, you were a huge resource for us. And that's how we were finally chose you to be our agent, because you had just great videos of all the different areas for Bluffton and Beaufort and Hilton Head, even Savannah area, and getting into all the aspects of all the neighborhoods and all these different areas. Mm-hmm. Your video on the Haven really helped, because you showed, even from the very beginning scene, I remember from 2 years ago, it shows you at the entrance to the Haven and how pretty the entrance to the Haven is.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the landscaping, and sure enough, getting into the Haven and showing the retreat, which is the main building where the club activities are, showing us the, it's not the Olympic size, the junior Olympic size pool they have. And then you did a little video on the bocce ball courts, the tennis courts, the gym. That was our first intro. That's what piqued our interest.
And then when you actually showed up, what did you think?
It was exactly as you described, really.
Okay.
Everybody that we met there was very nice. We liked the gated community. We liked being with other older adults. And again, just having a little more land to live on and having a little more mature landscaping to live in too was a plus.
Okay. So let's go beyond the community and let's talk about the Lowcountry region and some of the things that you like to do. So when I first started talking to you, you told me that you were into saltwater marsh fishing. So how has moving to the South Carolina Lowcountry, have you been able to explore some of the creeks and waterways and salt flats and fishing experiences?
I have, yes. Yeah, so again, going through Google Maps to choose where to live latitude-wise on the coast. Going from, I guess, Brunswick, where the Golden Isles are in Georgia, up to southern North Carolina, the salt marshes are very, very dense, especially right where we are now. So with that in mind, and me loving being up in the salt marsh to fish, do the bird watching, going up in creeks, again, this was a perfect location. And just going north of us, you have the Broad River going up towards Beaufort. And that's just an amazing body of water. And there's a great boat ramp going up 170 towards the Broad River at Chesley, which is a branch off the Broad River. And putting my boat in there, I got a small little kayak.
Mm-hmm.
I can go up, and they have all kinds of little creeks and not lots of development. It's been just a beautiful place for fishing. I was out just a few weeks ago at the Chesapeake at sunrise. Put my little kayak in. I'm pedaling in my kayak, watching the sun come up over Lemon Island. And there's a dolphin. And the dolphin's about 20 feet from me.
Oh my God.
Reaching in the water. And I passed the dolphin, and as I'm pedaling my kayak, the dolphin's following me. It's just an amazing experience to have that part of nature and a beautiful sunrise coming up.
Wow.
So even if I don't catch fish, it's just being out in the salt marsh, a pristine area that goes on for miles without a house inside or a car or any human activity. It's something I really, really enjoy.
What kind of fish are you catching out there?
Not the ones I want yet.
What's your target species?
The usual would be redfish and trout, flounder.
Uh-huh.
So far, it's been a couple sharks, hammerhead sharks,
Yeah.
and a lot of stingrays.
Yeah. Still fun to fight them though, right?
Yeah, it is.
All right.
Well, I make it a challenge. I use a cast net for fish. I don't use artificial. So if I don't catch any bait fish, I'm out of luck. So I make it more of a challenge for myself.
That's fun. So if somebody watching this, if they want to learn how to throw a cast net, can they get in contact with you to learn how to catch some bait fish?
Me, or better yet, YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. My wife actually taught me how to throw a cast net. She's from this area. Her family goes back many generations, and I've been with her for about 25 years. And when I first met her, she taught me how to throw a cast net, hold it in my mouth. And okay. So for somebody who's watching this and maybe they've dreamed about waking up near the water and living a slower, more connected, kind of connected to nature type of lifestyle, how has that style of living actually changed your day-to-day life and kind of your outlook?
Well, being retired, now I have the free time to do all these activities.
Yeah.
So besides being in nature in the marsh, we love to hike, especially with our dog Pete. So we'll go out to places like Pinckney Island, which is right in between Bluffton and Hilton Head. And they have great walking around that area. They don't allow dogs, unfortunately. But if you love any kind of seabirds, they have a great rookery and just walking around the salt marsh on Pinckney Island.
Mm-hmm.
And then going up on 170 towards the Broad River, they have Ridgeland Point.
Mm-hmm. I've been
That's
in there.
a nice little walking trail, and you can bring your dog. And that's right along the Broad River too, and just beautiful views of the salt marsh. And at one point, there's a view where you can see across the salt marsh looking pretty much east to Paris Island.
Yeah.
And not all the way to the coast. So it's just miles and miles of just marsh and open water.
That's fantastic. So let's move on to another hobby that you have. When I first talked to you on the phone, you told me that you flew glider planes, and you're the first person that I've ever met that flies glider planes, and it's a very unique hobby. Do you think that it's given you more time and freedom to enjoy that sort of thing? And have you gotten to do that? And maybe tell me a little bit more about that.
I have, yeah. Again, being retired and being in this area, I'll back up a second first. This area gives me so many opportunities to do what I love to do, whether it's saltwater fishing or hiking with my wife or taking the dog for a walk, that it gives me the things I need as an not elderly person, but a mature retired person in my 60s to be physically fit and mentally fit. So to me, that's a huge part of being retired. Having the freedom financially to do what I want, meaning what I want is to be healthy mentally and physically.
Mm-hmm.
This area gives me the opportunity to do all of that. But getting back to glider flying, Ridgeland has a small airport,
Mm-hmm.
and they also have a club. So the Lowcountry Soaring Association of the Lowcountry, that's where I fly at the Ridgeland Airport. It's a small group of about 20 members, and they own a tow plane and 2 gliders. One's a 2-place for training and one's a single place. So what you do is you get to the glider port, and I already had my glider flying license before I moved here too, which was a big help. They have a tow plane, and the tow plane actually pulls the glider up. And you can get pulled up to an altitude of maybe 2,000 or 3,000 feet. There's a release mechanism in the glider. You pull that, and then you're free. And the tow plane lands. If you can find lift, you can stay up for hours. So my last flight, I flew for about an hour and a half, just using rising air thermals.
Oh my gosh.
And it was really cool. I was surprised at how much lift and how high of an altitude the thermals go in this area. Because coming from Chattanooga, where I flew in Chattanooga, the thermals got to maybe 4,000 feet before you maxed out, usually in the bottom half of cumulus clouds.
Mm-hmm.
Here I've been up to 7,000 feet, about 3,000 feet higher than I've ever been in a sailplane.
So you can still see the ground and everything from there?
Yeah. Well, airliners getting up to around 30,000 feet.
Wow.
So it's not like that, but the fact that you're flying yourself in a non-motorized aircraft that's over 1,000 pounds, and you're staying up fighting gravity, you can actually stay up for hours.
That's
amazing. To me, it's just amazing.
And I bet it's just silent up there.
Kinda.
Really?
There's no motor drone, but there is a lot of wind noise.
Okay.
And it's not as smooth as you think because thermal activity is bumpy.
Okay.
So if you think about smooth versus bumpiness, turbulence, we want turbulence when we fly.
Okay.
Because the turbulence is vertical air mass, and that's what we need is a vertical rising column of air to keep your airplane up.
So what are some of the coolest things that you've seen up there?
Last time I flew, we were just below cloud base. And besides using cumulus clouds to stay up, because cumulus clouds are indicators of where thermals are, there's also birds. So if there's turkey vultures or black vultures circling, it's because they're in lift. So we can go to where they are. Or if there's hawks or eagles. The last time we flew, we were about 5,000 feet. And that's the top of the cumulus clouds were about 5,500 feet. And there was a big bird flying around. It was a juvenile bald eagle.
Oh my goodness.
Because the juvenile bald eagles don't have the white head like the adults do.
Yeah.
So we were thermaling with a bald eagle at about 5,000 feet in our 1,000 pound aircraft, 17 meter wingspan, and flew for a couple circles, and then the eagle freaked out from us and took off.
So you just follow the birds?
If we can find them, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That is awesome. All right. So I know at one point you said you were into woodworking a lot, and you mentioned before we did this interview that you haven't really been doing a lot of that. But has the move given you more time for, I guess, mental space for hobbies and activities and passions? I think you said yes, but
yeah. Again, the big thing is the mental space to keep that mental activity going.
Yeah.
Because the big thing about retirement that I didn't consider as much as I should have is when my wife and I are professionals working 40 hours plus per week.
Yeah.
And we're consumed mentally in the off hours with our jobs. That just quitting cold turkey, you got to fill your time with something.
Yeah.
And even with all my hobbies, I still have a lot of spare time, which is kind of a double-edged sword. So yeah, all these hobbies plus woodworking. I do a little bit of woodworking, I guess, still on the side, but just little projects for around the house, making a little countertop or doing a little repair work around the house, painting, doing a little trim work.
Okay.
But yeah, just keeping active with all these hobbies is
that's
really
a recurring theme. I've interviewed other people on this channel, and we did one with the I think it was called Ollie, where it's like Lifelong Learning Institute.
I saw that.
And that was like exactly what they were talking about. They have all these ongoing classes for people that are, most of the people are, at or near retirement, but they said some of the students at the college like to come to them because they're such cool classes. But it's all about staying stimulated mentally over your lifetime. And I just think that's fantastic. I'm just a little jealous that I work so much and I don't actually get to do any of that kind of stuff. I'm hearing all your
video of you interviewing the lady from Ollie. And when we first moved here, we wanted to go to those classes so bad because they looked great. There's just a variety of classes too. But man, they filled up really quick. And every time we tried getting in, they were already filled up.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to keep working hard so that at some point, maybe I'll be in the same financial position to get to do some of the fun stuff that you're doing. So
yes.
I'm going to hopefully emulate your path there. All right, so a lot of people considering a move are worried about leaving behind their familiarity, their routines, their longtime friends. What are some of the internal battles that you wrestled with around those topics?
Yeah, that's a good point, because you are leaving everything. If you want the freedom to do your hobbies, chances are all your hobbies aren't located where you are.
Yeah.
So to move there, but luckily again, moving there and being closer to family, like my mother and Elizabeth's mother, that's a big help for the transition.
Yeah.
But for me, I make a lot of friends through my hobbies.
Mm-hmm.
So I made friends at the Haven.
Yep.
Because there's a guy right down the road from where I live that also kayak fishes.
Oh, cool.
So I made a friend with him through my hobby. And I made friends with a lot of guys through my hobby of flying airplanes. And there's a guy right down the street that does amazing woodworking. He's made amazing pieces of furniture. So I met him. So it's not been too bad. And my wife picking up part-time work now too in Hilton Head doing dietary work.
Mm-hmm.
She's met people through that. And also through the Haven, there's all kinds of clubs. And physical sport activities. We joined the bocce ball club.
Yeah.
So you get into a team. So it's my wife and I with another husband and wife. So we got to know them through the bocce ball. And we talk about our trips to Savannah or Amelia Island or where to go out for supper.
Yeah.
So it didn't take a lot because of our hobbies to make new friends where we live now.
Okay. So looking back now, what part of the transition turned out to be easier than you expected? Because I know a lot of people are very intimidated about the entire moving their whole life thing, and I'm sure it was intimidating at some point for you. But was it actually easier than you thought?
It's not easy.
Okay.
Well, the good thing was, and again, I brought this up, you were such a big help.
Well, thank you.
Again, all the videos that you provide to begin with, and then working with you directly. I mean, you're just an honest guy, and you're so knowledgeable about the whole area. And working with Mackenzie, your real estate agent too, she's the nicest person in the world. So that was a big help. And just being an R&D kind of guy from my background, doing a lot of research beforehand. Coming here a few times before moving here was a big help, because luckily it wasn't that far to go. It's about a 6-hour drive from where we live to get here.
Mm-hmm.
Making a few trips to investigate the area. And again, you're willing to help with that and show me around for hours and hours. I think that was the main thing, was a lot of the research I did beforehand.
Okay. So since you've moved here and you've been here, I think since January of 2025.
That's right.
What has surprised you most about either the people or the lifestyle in and around Bluffton?
I guess what surprised me is just how laid back everybody is. I think I got lucky moving into this area because there's so many people like me, older people that are retired and living the good life. And to me, it's almost like a 24-hour, 24/7 vacation.
Yeah.
So I guess seeing other people in the same boat I am and just relaxed. And the stress level, I guess, is what's so nice. Everybody's just relaxed and very friendly out here.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's part of one of the surprising things. Everybody's just very, very nice. Coming from a big town, I was raised in Jacksonville, Florida. Jacksonville is huge. My sister lives still in Miami. And Miami being such a huge city, people are just kind of rude down there, to be honest. But in this area, being a smaller town, that's it. Just
yeah, very friendly. And I get that all the time when people are, coming and touring and going around all the different communities. And like every community we go into, like the residents themselves are chatting them up and asking them where they're from.
That's
and,
true.
And they end up getting into these 15-minute conversations in and around the pools and the fitness centers. And people are like, why is everybody so friendly here? Like, is this for real? And it's kind of surprising because most of the people, back in, like the year 2000, I think there was like 2,000 people living in and around Bluffton, and now there's 10 times that amount or more, and everybody's from New York, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, California, like all over the place. So it's not like we're made up of all these super friendly Southerners. It is like a big melting pot of everybody from everywhere, but I think a lot of people have adopted that sort of Southern friendliness, and probably also the fact that they're done with the stressful part of their life in a lot of cases. So,
and this didn't surprise me because of all my research, but the city planners who ever planned Bluffton area in Hilton Head, it's just a beautiful area.
Yeah.
You drive down the main drag 278, you don't see a bunch of billboards. You don't see parking lots all over the place. Everything's like behind the woods, behind the trees.
Yeah.
And the main throughways you go through the Bluffton area, 278, Bluffton Parkway, Buckwater, May River Road.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what they've done along
beautiful
pathways is the grass medians, the grass on the sides of the road, all the trees,
biking paths,
crepe myrtles,
all the way along Bluffton Parkway. There's a bike path all the way from 170 all the way into Old Town. I mean, you can go 7-8 miles on a bike path. So,
and where we live too.
Yeah,
part of your video that we watched, New Riverside, that beautiful walkway.
Yeah, through the woods. I mean, that goes like 7 miles all the way along New Riverside Road, all the way out to Palmetto Bluff. So that's that might be my favorite walking trail. All right, so I've got like 2 questions left, and I won't take any more of your time, and thank you again for taking your time to do this. If the person that's watching this right now, if they feel stuck in between staying comfortable in their life where they've been for 30, 40 years and stepping into a new chapter of life like you did, what would you tell them?
Well, the biggest thing I could say is do your research as far as having that financial security.
Mm-hmm.
And once you're over that hurdle, then you know your budget and what you can afford. And from there, just going on to websites or YouTube and seeing your videos, seeing other real estate agents' videos. I went on to Zillow and looked on Zillow every day.
Yeah.
And got a really good feeling for the cost of homes in this area. Because homes in this area versus just going south to Georgia is a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
So just being prepared, doing your research. What else could I say about that? I have something else in my mind, but it slipped my mind right now.
That's good. I think that's great advice, actually. All right, so last and final question. So you've been here again since January of 2025, so if you had some time to kind of let it all soak in, how has this move affected not just you and your hobbies and your own mental state, but how has it affected the relationships around you with the people that you know, love, and trust?
Like I mentioned, I was just with my mother for Mother's Day.
Uh-huh.
So if I get to spend more time with her being 93 years old, that's huge.
Yeah.
It just makes me feel warm and just gives me the freedom, being retired, to go and see her whenever I want or whenever she has free time too.
Yeah.
So that's huge. And it's having the freedom to go with my hobbies and have the freedom to research my hobbies and participate when I want and not have the stresses of a job looming over my head, not having the stresses of having to get up with the alarm clock, which is a big one for me. Not having to have that alarm blaring in my ear Monday through Friday in the mornings is huge.
Wow.
Get to sleep late. So my stress levels dropped. As long as I can keep motivated as far as my hobbies to keep my brain active. And again, there's a gym at the retreat in the Haven to go to work out and go for walks with my dog and my wife. And keeping physical with my hobbies like saltwater fishing. All these things are just, to me, they make a balanced, happy life.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again, number one, for trusting me to help you through this process and let me be part of it. Thank you for your friendship, because I've seen you a few times since you bought the home. So I appreciate you, allowing us to stay connected. And most of all, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come and share your story with me and with the person watching this, and hopefully it's a help to you. So I hope you guys appreciate Bryan coming on today. So thank you again. Yes, sir. Thank you so much for staying till the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed hearing Bryan's story, and hopefully it inspired you a little bit. Again, if I can help you find your own low country lifestyle, give me a call, send me an email, shoot me a text, or you can always book a Zoom call by going to lowcountrylifestylesteam.com. And as always, I hope to meet you in person at some point, but if not, I will at least see you on the next video.